an expression of incredulity, and then also one of concern. The incredulity is extraneous to my usual episodes on COVID-19, but then I continue with something more familiar to my usual theme. So welcome to Arm Wrestling with COVID-19 in London. This is number 34. Our government has decided to submit its internal market bill on Wednesday, I believe, for the first reading. That will, of course, be followed by the second reading in order to bring changes to the withdrawal agreement that our PM signed and sealed with the EU less than a year ago. What will this bill do, amongst other things? I believe that it will have an impact on devolution as it centralizes power over domestic market and state aid. But it will also have an impact on the stability of the Good Friday Agreement or the Good Friday Accord by tinkering with the Northern Ireland Protocol. For instance, the exit summary declarations, the definition of what at-risk goods being moved from Great Britain into Northern Ireland and to which EU tariffs would be applied means, and also state aid rules. All this has political and economic consequences and raises, to my mind at least, unsettling questions. For instance, if this bill were to pass and become law, as it sort of goes through its various readings and then ping-pongs between the House of Commons and the House of Lords, does it actually take us back to a unitary state minus the devolution? And how does it impact EU-UK trade relations? Now, for clearer answers, for longer answers, may I suggest to you, dear viewer, or hopefully dear viewers in the plural, that you search for two people who might give you good answers, at least from my perspective. Of course, there are others. One is Michael Dugan, who is Professor of European Law at the University of Liverpool, and he's also joint editor of the Common Market Law Review. Or, if you don't have time for two people, look up Nicola McEwen, who is Professor of Territorial Politics at Edinburgh University and co-director of the CCC Research. Their threads on social media, on Twitter, are readily available, and they are learned, they are focused. So they will talk to you a lot about the implications of this bill going through Parliament. They will talk about its impact, socioeconomic, political impact. They will also, of course, talk about its legal impact. And this is what I am worried about, the legal implication of this new bill. This is why I used the word incredulity at the beginning. I was personally, as some of you already know, proud, really proud, to study law in this country, in the UK. When I started doing my law degree, I remember so many people reminding me that the UK is the Rolls-Royce of legal systems. I even did my postgraduate studies, my LLD, in public international law. In other words, in that topic that deals with agreements, international treaties, etc., etc. And one of the first things that was drummed into my head is a Latin maxim, which goes, pacta sunt servanda. Now, what is pacta sunt servanda? It is a brocard. It's a fundamental principle of international law that agreements must be kept. You negotiate, you give and take, you argue, you even threaten to pull out. But once you have put your signature down on an agreement, it becomes inviolable. That is one of the clearest tenets of public international law. And what is happening today in terms of this bill that is going through Parliament, the Internal Market Bill, what is happening today is that this inviolability of the sanctity, of the untouchable nature of an international agreement is being challenged because the government wants to tweak it. And it says it wants to tweak it because it wants to preserve this right and that right and make the Good Friday Accord stronger and make sure that everybody from Northern Ireland to the rest of the UK gets a good deal. Yes, but this should have been done before, not after that signature was put on that piece of paper. Now, the EU and the UK have been talking, they've been threatening each other. The EU has said that it might even consider taking the UK to the International Court. I personally do not think that our Prime Minister Boris Johnson and his group, and on this issue, I think the two key people are Michael Gove and I suppose the advisor Dominic Cummings. They're not too worried about the legal implications of litigation at the ECJ at all. But they would be concerned if this spat, this real problem, has an impact on trade relations. But it worries me even more than that. I don't want to insulate myself into one bill that might have a few clauses in it that need to be changed or tweaked, and probably at the last minute there would be some sort of an agreement, whether amicable or not, so that both sides save face and both sides do not basically fall out without a deal. Because listen, there are some people who want a no deal Brexit. I'm certainly not one of them, and jurisprudence would probably back me up. But what it worries me even more is that if we go ahead and change an agreement that we had actually signed as the UK, the Rolls-Royce of legal systems, we're not a Mickey Mouse country with a Mickey Mouse legal system, then we are setting a precedent. And that precedent could then be applied on other occasions and other instances with other parties. And that worries me. Pact sunt servanda. Pacta sunt servanda is, I tell you, it was one of the first things. There are a few maxims in Latin that still apply in public international law. And one of them was that. And I really hope that we will not go there, no matter the noises that we are making, either here in London or even there in Brussels. End of my incredulity. Let me just come back to COVID-19, back to my stomping grounds, as it were, in order to give legitimacy to this episode, since it is supposed to be about COVID and not about Brexit, not about the international agreements that we sign and should respect. Now, as you all know, as much as I do perhaps, that there are constant changes happening across the UK and across Europe in our neighboring countries. For instance, let me take Bolton in the Northwest, where people have said, we've had 4 changes in so many weeks. What's happening? That's true. But if you look at the case history, there were 15 cases per 100,000 people. Then it suddenly, in 2 weeks, sprang up 220 cases in 100,000. That is worrying. I know Birmingham and Leeds are also very much on the watch list. Ditto with those destinations abroad. Some are coming on the quarantine list, some are getting off the quarantine list. What I think I would say, and I am one of those people deeply concerned by this, for my own health and well-being, but also for the health and well-being of the whole country, of people I know, friends, colleagues, who are equally worried, and also for our economy. But I would suggest that absence a vaccine, our answer should be testing, testing, testing. We've heard that, haven't we? Now, our Prime Minister is good with words. He talks about, I don't know, world-shattering discoveries or moonshot operations with 10 million tests per day, and his health secretary comes into parliament and suggests that that's what we're going to do. And I don't know, should I cry or should I laugh when I hear that? But until we get our testing sorted out, which we haven't incidentally, at best, I suggest three things. I've done this before, and it was right at the beginning in March, the principle that applied. We seem to have forgotten it. Face coverings that covers the nose and the mouth. Physical distancing between different people, and washing hands. We're not in such a good place. We've already had well over 40,000 deaths. Do we really want more deaths because we are selfish? No matter the age group. Yes, people are talking, it's the 17 to 25 age group, the 17 to 30. I heard today even the 17 to 40. Give me a break. We will all be affected, but yes, the young might get it and get through it. What about us who hail from the older generations? We all want this to be over, but we have to think of the consequences upon everybody, including the vulnerable, be they in care homes, be they in hospitals, be they alone in their houses, or be they of a disposition that makes them more vulnerable to this virus. So, incredulity first, concern second, and third, I wish you a very, very pleasant weekend. And I hope you like the way I'm sort of experimenting with the formats of those episodes. Last time it was a Grundig television. This time it's a Grundig radio. Take care and all the best.